Peace, peace, peace. What's good? What's good? Glad to fall out. Uh, what's good, man? Falling through. I'm sitting here trying to figure out, Lex. I'm trying to figure out how to bring because I'm operating this on my phone, and so I'm trying to figure out how to bring you up. I may just have to drop my email in the chat, unless one of y'all know how to pull the stream link and put it in the chat to get my man up. Other than that, I'm sitting here fumbling and fiddling with it. But I'm ready to get Lex up because I'm excited about this show. One of the things is if you haven't been to Lex's channel to check out his program a little earlier, what can I say? You know, Lex may be crude. I'm gonna shoot that out there. Lex may be crude and Lex may be rude, but he really brought it that time, brought up some very interesting points. And I just outright was like, yo, like I did with my man Anka Cat. Shouts out to Ank too, man. I appreciate you for coming on the show, my guy. But like I did with Ank, I was like, yo, you gotta do that on my show. All right, let's see if I can. And while I'm talking, man, I'm still trying to figure out how to get this just hit invite and you can copy the link. Right. But see, okay. So I did this, but I don't know how to put it in the chat. There it is. It's copied. Is it in the chat? See, I don't see it coming up in the chat. So we can get in there. I'm on the phone, Vortex. So yeah. So now I'm gonna tell you what surprised me because this is what got me when I heard Unc spitting science on the Lions Den. Shout out to Lions Den. When I heard him over there spitting science on the Lions Den, it actually put me in the mind of Darkseid. I said, man, Darkseid are proponents of science, getting away from the. So I was surprised at um, Lex's response. Not so I was like I said, his information was thorough as fuck. I was just surprised at the turn it had taken. Let me see. If you're on your phone, pull up your YouTube page. Paste it in the chat. Okay, let's do that. Appreciate all the technical advice out there, man. And appreciate the patience of you guys. Now, why I have it, and I'm trying to do this, we have to know the rules. Lex, you got to be easy on the ad hominems. I like Uncle Cat. That is my guy. You know, and your thing, you bring, so absolutely. I, I think that it should give me a moment, you guys. I'm still working with. Phone is actually crazy. So yeah, let's get. So like I said, that was I thought that was interesting. Let's see. All right. All right, you got me fumbling with this phone. Let's see what we here. This sucks, you guys. I'm sorry about this. I wanted to really this thing to really start flowing. Um, how am I live chat? Do I go into live chat? If you don't, because y'all really dealing with. Let's see. Man, y'all bear with me, man. This is yeah. I was trying to have this a little bit together before this, but I was trying to make some runs, do some things. Uh, man, I'm having a hell of a time. Let me see. Lex, you the man. You won. You saved the day, brother. You saved the day. Power to the dark side. And it came through again. All right. So is it in there? My man. All right. So let's see if we can get this thing started and get it properly. Get it started properly. All right. Again, man, I appreciate you guys being patient with me. Like I said, I wanted to bring Lex up. I wanted him to have the is that it right there? See if that should be it. If not, let me do it one more again. There we go. We got you up here, Vortex.
Yes, indeed. Yes,
All
indeed.
right, man. I appreciate I appreciate the assistance, black man. I damn sure appreciate it, God. What's going on, man? First of all, let me say, hot ass live, hot ass live. But I was so surprised, man. I thought you would dig the whole the science aspect of it all. So let's begin there. What is the white man science? What's the difference? What had happened and transpired? Oh, did
Oh,
I lose you, brother?
no, I'm here. Um, yeah, man. Science. We're all about science, technology, engineering, and math, but through the eyes of the African. And when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to, that's why I played Dr. Marine Baani. See, we're dealing with a war of worldview. Ankh has took on the Wazungu worldview. Now they do science, but they don't get to decide the method of gathering data. And their mind takes the spirit out of the universe. And that's what Ankh has fell for. So they're saying, see, we don't realize that everything they do is war. So because they're disconnected, they say in order to do science that you have to get rid of spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's counterproductive. cultural. It goes back to
Yeah.
their mind of promoting their aggressive nature and dominance.
Mm.
They're trying to take away the value of your culture and say this culture is superior and this is the way to do science. And that's why they
Mm.
fall short. And Ankh has been caught up in that. He doesn't realize because he's fallen into the Wazungu system and worldview, some people have accepted that methodology as the way. But they do that not because it's the way science is done, it because it served their purpose of aggression and imperialism. They want you, it benefits them to live in a spiritless universe. See? So you got to understand the tricks of the enemy. And make no mistake, it's an enemy. See, Ankh don't believe we have an enemy. And that's why they promote their philosophies to trick us. Oh, it's just natural, development of man. And like these people don't have a nature and an agenda. And it's not about playing the victim. It's about reality, sir. And a reality that they're trying to construct, which is counterproductive to indigenous people across the earth. We were not no dumb monkeys, bro. And everything in the universe cannot be measured and weighed. Even modern science knows that. This is what I'm saying. Ankh is, to tell the truth, the Brother Baines Network and Ankh and them and all these atheists, they're actually outdated.
Mm.
They're talking science from 1940. like,
From
like,
1940.
yeah, they're still talking about like evolution uh and the newest cutting science is quantum physics. You know
Okay.
that, right?
Yeah, now I do.
That's the
Now I
cutting edge
do.
science. That changed everything. And the cracking of the human genome, which they did in
Hmm.
2003. But in the last 4 or 5 years, that has even changed. So
Hmm.
really, those brothers are like old men that still think Atari 5200 is the joint. Bruh, we in virtual, we got virtual reality now, sir. You know what I'm saying? You enter in the
Hmm.
metaverse, sir. You know what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
that's my contention, is that they want to put you to sleep and act like you don't have an open enemy. As if
Hmm.
the Wazungu is actually doing fair science and they're being upfront about everything and they're just pure, moral scientists who don't lie. What exists is something I like to call the scientific priesthood.
That's exactly was you go leading right into my next questioning. So what do you define as science? I think that was a good breakdown, like you said, from the world view and the aspect of eliminating spirit. I think that when I was listening to your show earlier, you were talking about how they want you, how it's pushed to look at everything objectively from an objective, a viable view. So tell me how you view science, what science is for the African people, and how we should approach it.
There is no science, true science, without spirit, bro.
Hmm.
If you leave out spirit, you have left out the foundation of the universe. So the Wazungu, they call it objective truth. And what they really mean is the universe is not alive, which is
Hmm.
countercultural to the African view. And
Hmm.
so by doing that, they are able to look at the universe and everything in it as an object of manipulation.
Mm,
So they're able to disrespect the earth and disrespect people and their cultures. Because when you take spirit out of the universe, you're left with nothing but dead matter. And, we might as well just be AI. So it's nothing to say. And then when you put in social Darwinism, which is what
mm,
they call survival of the fittest, which is just a Wazungu mind state. See? Because just like animals went extinct because they couldn't survive or they wasn't smart enough, same thing with human beings. Oh, they're not evolving, and the strong kill the weak. Might is right. Survival of the fit, that's what we call social Darwinism. That's how that plays into the mindset of the Wazungu. So since you're not a divine being, you're not, what value do you have?
mm.
If you're just uh some random, you're made of just chemicals that have no life force. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
So in order to move forward, and this is what Darwin said in his book. These dudes ain't never read Darwin's Origin of Species. I get they never read that book.
What's the name? You were breaking up a little bit. What's the name of the book?
The Origin of Species
Okay.
by Darwin. That's the
Mm-hmm.
foundation of Darwinic evolution. He
Mm-hmm.
clearly says in that book that the inferior races will be wiped out by modern man.
Mm,
Unc
mm.
tries to lie and say he was talking about plants. No, that's what they're saying. See, everything they do is about war and aggression. So that's their worldview. And if you adopt that worldview, you are committing suicide.
Mm,
You see? So
mm.
when we look at evolution is, see, and they're tricky because things do change over time.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying? But they mix
Mm-hmm.
it up with this whole, we were primitive. That's their story, actually. That's their
Mm,
story. Our
mm-hmm.
people have been advanced scientists for thousands of years, or who knows, maybe even millions. And that's what I'm saying. You know why? Because there's a divine intelligence that's innate in the universe that goes by many names.
Mm-hmm.
Oladumare, Allah, Kukakulu, Krishna, whatever. We choose to use an African name. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? But
Right.
there is a divine intelligence, and that has been proven in quantum physics. So how could you be doing science and discovering the secrets and mysteries of the universe if you take out the foundation of it? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's stupid, bruh. Like, these Wazungu are mad, bruh. They
Mm-hmm.
crazy as hell.
Mm-hmm.
Unc is crazy, bruh.
Now, let me, and I don't want you to digress, but like I have a lot of new people being introduced to YouTube, particularly. Break down the Wudungu real quick, because people are going to have to know that. We see that that's a term, a frequent term that you're using. Go into that just a tad bit and let the people know what that is when you
We've
refer to that.
we've declared Swahili the national language of black people in America and actually internationally in order for our people to come to a oneness of communication, trade, business, and to truly practice with Pan-Africanism. The elders taught us the importance of expressing our ideas through our indigenous languages.
Mm,
Wazungu is the term in Swahili that they used to describe these foreigners when they came in with their religions and whatever it was, right? The
mm,
root of the word Wazungu is a word that means wanderer, one who doesn't stay at home. So when these
mm,
people came in, That's just the term. It means foreigner, and all could be used to even just identify the European race. But when
Okay.
you use your tongue, you see how it has a different feel. You know what I'm saying? I love the way it sounds when we describe the foreigners as Wazungu. And then it has a connotation of a whole mindset that comes along with it. Meaning this stuff is foreign to us. These people are foreign to us. Their ideas are foreign to us. And they want to come and take from us by putting in, if we accept their ideas, then that's how we become conquered. So we use the Swahili term. It's really an individual can be called a mzungu. That's the singular form. Wazungu is the plural form that describes them all. So all we're doing is using language. You know what I'm saying? Just like it's almost like saying kufa in Islam.
I totally
It's
get it.
all,
I like the fact that there's a language involved. I totally get it. Like when you were saying foreigner, it gives a lot more expression to it. It gives a lot more. It can go range from anything to derogatory to actually intellectual. It covers a wide range. So I'm glad. I'm like free spirit. I'm glad you took the time to break that down.
yeah, it takes. We got to get into speaking our tongues
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
our thought process and culture is expressed through language. And the more I'm starting to study Swahili, I'm starting to see that. You see what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why that's why the Wazungu know that the physical war is one thing. But once you get people to start speaking your language, living out your religions, living out your ideals, and changing their worldview, it's like reversing the nature of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? Even
Mm-hmm.
the tongue, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
you just become it's called possession. And we have become Wazungu. That's one reason why I push that term so much, so we can realize what we've become. Look at we're so far disconnected. We don't know we dress like Wazungu. We talk like Wazungu. We worship like Wazungu. We're even fighting over their capitalism and like all their politics and everything. And we don't even, none of that stuff is ours. And we believe that we cannot exist without it. That is the conquering. That's the
Mm-hmm.
conquering, man. We ain't, man. No, when have our
Well,
ancestors? Go,
yeah.
go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
On the politics. I'm gonna say we had to be a little more specific. Politics is a little bit my area. I know, that they stole the whole outline and structure of political mobility and just how to, how politics could structure their
Democracy.
civilizations. Yeah, democracy and
That's
things of
private.
that nature. Assemblies. You know what I'm saying? There, even J. Edgar Hoover said that socialism is an adaptation of primitive African communalism. So they take our very structures of civilization and they modify them to fit their thing. Like one of the failures in socialism will always be Marxist and Lenin's failure will always be the non-factor of African people. You know what I'm saying? They weren't African. So their adaptation of our way will always be only be unique for them and advantageous for them as a people. But yeah, I agree with what you're saying. Like if the way that it's presenting itself now, if we're champions of that, if we go out and try to be proponents of that, absolutely. What do you call what? Yeah, absolutely. Wazungu. I didn't want to slaughter the thing, but absolutely, I can
So
agree with that.
whatever they do, like I said, they don't practice democracy. See that term?
Yeah,
You see what I'm saying? Like
yeah.
they say it, but whatever. See, this is my problem with the Brother Baines Network. They're trying to rock us to sleep and act like the Wazungu world is all good. They don't practice democracy because you got some brothers saying, "Oh, democracy is the way to go." You know what's wrong? They
Mm-hmm.
don't practice so-called democracy.
Mm-hmm.
They just say it and they use it for their aggression. The reason why they promote democracy is so they can manipulate people's governments.
Yeah.
So they put puppets in their government.
Mm-hmm.
Because if
Yeah.
you have a dictatorship or something, then they can't manipulate your government. That's why they don't care that Saddam Hussein was a dictator. But when you have a dictatorship, you can't manipulate that man's government.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're concerned about. Now, if Iran and all these people become democracy, now they can come in and manipulate the process. So they don't practice. See, the thing is, and I almost got caught up in this because I promote humanism. That's the ideal thing. But the Wazungu just have a nature. Dr. Marimbi called it, in Swahili, it's a word called asili, and it means the seed of your culture.
Mm.
The seed of their culture and their nature is aggression. There's just no way to get around that. And we can be perfectly idealistically human, and I'm not saying that there's no good Wazungu either, but that's not what the patterns of history have taught us.
Absolutely.
So we can't go, John Brown was a great guy.
Yeah. So they say.
Unfortunately, he was a very small percentage.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to go with the patterns of history and be able to recognize the pattern. That's the truth. The actual, if you look up the word truth, it says that which is consistent with pattern. And
Mm-hmm.
so I don't have a problem with science in itself, but I'm not going to let the Wazungu dictate my epistemology, the way I gather knowledge, and then take the very foundation of my culture out of it, which is without spirit, there is no African, bro. That's
Mm-hmm.
why you know, we're in the position we in today.
Mm-hmm. Well,
It is a
let's.
war. It's a war on your culture and existence because spirit is a threat to those without it.
Mm,
God is a threat to those that are not connected to it.
mm.
Nature
Wow.
is a threat to those that are not connected to it. So they must objectify the universe. They're trying to listen, man. Y'all seen the Matrix? Agent Smith is trying to take over the Matrix, replicate itself like a virus. That's what they do. They're so crazy and egotistically ignorant that their view of the universe is
Mm-hmm.
that they can command God itself. They're gonna figure out the scientific process to control the power of God. And that's what Ankh don't realize these people are saying. Why you
Mm-hmm.
think you think they're trying to get into science and discover the mysteries of nature so they can bring enlightenment to the world?
Mm-hmm.
No, they're doing that to dominate nature.
Mm.
That's what they're doing because nature is adverse to them. So how do you implement that thing on the people who represent the physical manifestation of that nature? You have to reverse their nature
Mm-hmm.
in order to subjugate them because their very existence, our very existence in culture is to them the enemy. Just being you.
Is the enemy.
Nappy hair is offensive to the Wazungu. It's
Mm,
offensive. Why do you think
mm,
sisters got to perm their head when they're in the corporate world? Why can't she rock her afro and locks? There was a time, they're getting a little more lenient now. There was a time when sisters could not even rock locks. I was working at a job,
Mm-hmm.
and there was this sister there that I knew. She had a big, beautiful 70s fro. Another sister at the job told her, "You will never move up in this company until you do something with your hair."
Mm-hmm.
So this is what we did, and this is what Ankh and them want to ignore. They're trying to make black people think that we are somehow hallucinating, that it's all hunky dory. Just follow the rules of the system. Fix your credit. Get
Right, I heard
financially
that show.
get financially literate, and you will live just fine. Nobody's trying to do anything to you. It's
Mm.
you. That is insane. That is crazy, bro. After all we've been through and what history's taught us. But I mean, I was
Mm-hmm.
listening to your show. Did you hear? And I know you cool with but I know I heard you chuckle when the dude said that, because you know it didn't make no sense. He said, "Yeah, it's logical. We know that, watching history, don't let a white boy stick you with a needle."
Mm-hmm.
But then he turns around and says, "Well, how can I then say that everyone should take the jab? See, that's a complex intelligence." What? How can I say, yeah, obviously we shouldn't let the white boy stick us with a needle, but then see, there's another level of complex intelligence that says let them stick you with the needle.
Mm-hmm.
No, bro. We ain't
Mm-hmm.
learned yet.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, then you done ran by this dude 10 times on a corner. He done robbed you every time. But this
Yeah.
time, the robbery is gonna serve your purpose. No, bro. We don't trust the Wazungu. And it ain't got
Mm-hmm.
nothing to do with racism.
I thought that was interesting too, man. And I hope, if anybody from at some point in time, I hope that you invite an open panel, because I would love someone, Ankh even himself, or someone from the Amin Ra squad to come up. I thought that was interesting, the whole intuitive. I think Brother West called it. And I quite didn't get it either, because like I'm like that too. It's spirit, it's instinct, it's that thing in you saying, hey, this thing isn't right. So to kind of tell that not to work, isn't that like shit, that's almost like domesticating us, or you
Trying to
know
kill your inner instinct, that inner voice, that spirit, that thing that you can't measure away that guides us. See, that's what the Wazungu need to do in order to make us stupid. Oh, that inner voice. That's pseudo. That's just a figment of your imagination. Well, that voice
mm,
has saved my life
yeah, yeah,
many times. Like, and that's
yeah. Right,
and that's
right.
what we're losing right now. We've
Hmm.
lost that intuition. You know what I'm saying? For our
Hmm.
people worldwide, we know something ain't right, but we wanna act like, oh, no, maybe we just been bugging, or like, nigga, we know it ain't right. Come on, bro.
Hmm.
Your
Hmm.
intuition tells you that. We know these people ain't right, and we know the system ain't right, and we know and it ain't just African people suffering. Everybody's suffering because of the Wazungu. Even the Wazungu is
Hmm.
suffering because of the Wazungu. Like,
Yeah,
come
right,
on, man. What are we doing here?
right.
And we gonna take what they tell us for science and the method of, they don't have the ability we have.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
intuition that led to science, not no accidents of, there was a forest fire, and, there was a dead carcass, and that's how we learned how to cook meat. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. Or, we was dumb. No, it was our intuition that led the black woman to say, what is this plant?
Hmm.
Or the plant. I'm gonna tell you the truth. I'm gonna tell you some real pseudo stuff that George Washington Carver said. How did the science come about? The plants taught us. The trees talked to us. Just like George Washington Carver said. They asked, how did you figure out how to create 300 things from peanuts and plants? So
Hmm.
was he pseudo and crazy when he said the plants talk to me?
Sounds pretty spiritual.
Exactly. That's how the science of voodoo and plants came about. It
Mm,
was innate. We got an innate spirit that knows every goddamn thing.
mm,
The science, when you talk about science, you're not talking about actually creating another system that the universe works on. You're talking about the universe revealing to you how it works.
mm.
So when we look at um, the Wazungu mind, because it is incomplete, like Dr. Marimba taught us, is they have to separate things. How do
Mm.
we know what plant to use without pulling it apart and putting it under a microscope?
Yeah, good point.
How do
Very
we know?
interesting point. Yeah,
That's why they,
very
they
interesting point.
try to discredit Dr. Sebi now that he's dead. Call it, oh, he was just so a man. How did Dr. Sebi last since the 1980s all the way up into 2017 lying to people?
Mm,
No, he wasn't lying to people. He was practicing voodoo. And that's what people
mm.
miss. And
Root.
that's why,
So Dr. Sabi was the root doctor.
yeah, he was just
Mm,
practicing it, and he told us that.
mm-hmm.
He
Wow.
was Dr. Sebi was a voodoo practitioner. And that's why what do they label him? A pseudo witch doctor. See, your culture has to be inferior.
Mm,
But Ankh is sitting here promoting Wazungu medicine, and now all this stuff is coming out about that jab. There's lawsuits coming out.
mm.
And now it's coming out that it wasn't even natural. The
Wow.
body, there's an intelligence in the body that does the work. Now, I'm not
Mm,
saying I'm totally against the jab, and I'm talking about the concept of being able to, prepare yourself and have the body create enzymes. What I'm
mm,
saying is, where is it coming from, bruh?
mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
do you really think that the Wazungu don't want to control the population and kill us anymore? Have they
Mm,
evolved all of a sudden in the past 10 years where, oh, yeah, we really just want to serve the African people? There's too much precedent
mm.
that, I mean, there's been books written, Medical Apartheid. You ever read that book?
Yeah, I haven't read it. I know of the book.
When the black Hebrew Israelites, when the Ethiopian so-called Falasha Jews
Mm-hmm.
went went to Israel, they gave them the jab too. And guess what it did? Made them sterile. So like you got to
Made
question
him what, Lex? We lost you for a moment. Right at the critical point. They gave him the jab to and made him what?
sterile.
Wow.
They
Wow.
they actually sterilized the women so they couldn't have babies.
Mm,
Why? Because African babies are a threat to Wazungu existence. So
mm,
their agenda is not going to change. What we have to realize is they can't help it. That's why in Swahili it's called the asili, the seed of a culture and how it
mm.
blooms. The seed, we're not talking about racism, right? Like the hillbilly in Nutbush, Tennessee just don't like naggers. We're talking about, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're talking about a culture, something that is embedded in the cultural narrative of a people. And so that corruption corrupts what they do. It corrupts their science. That's why,
Mm,
see, and the reason why we see is superior because We believe that what the Wazungu has done is superior. Destruction is not superior. Dominating nature in other people is not superior activity, bro. It's inferior.
Mm,
So when you hear I'm talking about the weapons, the arrow became the ballistic missile. What is superior about that? What is superior in scientific, you know, about creating a nuclear bomb that can actually wipe out the population of the planet? Our people
mm,
knew about nuclear power, bruh, thousands of years ago. You can see that in the story of Adam and Eve, the splitting of the atom.
mm.
When Eve is taken out of Adam,
Wow.
we had these concepts of these forces. He's talking about we didn't know about gravity. Even when you look at when they talk about Kemet, their deities represent the air, the moisture, the
Mm,
evolution, change. Neb
mm,
Karu. When you look at Yemen Yah, the goddess of the
mm,
ocean,
mm,
Shango represents thunder and lightning.
mm,
Oshun, love, beauty, magnetic attraction. What are you
mm,
talking about? We didn't understand magnetism.
mm.
It's all in our culture. So I'm trying to see, but he's convinced that they didn't that that culture didn't cover those things.
Mm.
And so that's the problem, bro. We love science. We are science.
Yeah.
So we're not against that. But what we're saying is the Wazungu does not get to decide the method to gather information. And if you
So,
telling us that spirit is not involved in the universe, you're trying to kill us, sir.
wow.
You're
That
trying
way.
to kill us.
Wow. Both there. So science, and the way that it's understood and pushed by, these people. I'll say Ankh this and that. And the other groups. You're saying is a direct attack against African culture.
The
Or am I
way that
misunderstanding?
yes, everything the Wazungu does is weaponized.
Hmm.
Until we come to that conclusion, you will be forever asleep. So when they're telling you that they're talking about their biology, it's only to weaponize.
Hmm.
When they're talking about technology, what are they doing? Making weapons.
Hmm. Hmm.
They've everything they do. Even the cell phone is to track you.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like
Hmm.
everything they do, bro. Like we see,
Hmm.
these new age people who are falling away from what the elders laid down are basically saying it's over. The war is over. Europeans ain't think about you no more. How could they not when the average age 60% of Africans across the world are 30 and under, and these people are having problems reproducing, and they're printing it in their scientific journals and saying,
Hmm.
what are we gonna do about it? We're gonna be the minority. So you think that they're doing science and they're studying our people and studying melanin and biology, that ain't got nothing to do with their imperialism, and that they're
Wow.
telling you the truth about everything that they've discovered and learned about you?
Hmm.
Ankh will lead us all into a ditch. Now, Now, here's the tricky part, though, because obviously, see, they'll say things like this. I bet you when you break your leg, though, you gonna go to the hospital. Yeah,
Facts. It's a point.
yeah, but
Is
that
it a
don't.
point?
We're not saying that everything. Yo, these dudes are ridiculous. That like, yo, that don't mean that I gotta trust the Wazungu because the
Hmm.
Wazungu created. If they could, they would stop you from doing that. See what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So yeah, the Wazungu has. I'm not saying everything that they created can't be used for good, but I'm just saying ultimately it is for power.
Hmm.
That's it. You got to know the Wazungu mind.
Mm-hmm.
Their relationship with the world is why do they want to figure out, you see, once they said they cracked the human genome, right? What did they
Mm-hmm.
do? What did they do? Did they
What's
cure
that?
disease?
No, I
What
haven't
did
heard
they do?
of a major one cured.
They created them. They started genetically modifying the food.
Wow.
They
Yeah.
started terraforming the planet.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, they are creating drone bees. They are genetically modifying mosquitoes. They're causing an imbalance on Mama Earth because they're
Mm-hmm.
disconnected. How are you gonna listen to them when it comes to science? Nigga, they're babies with shotguns. But you want to tell me that my ancestors was running around throwing rocks and
Mm.
were illogical? Man, get out of here, bro. You fell for the you done fell for the trick, bro. For the trap. And they're
Mm.
misleading our people, bro. And the Wazungu is smart. They're shrewd and evil because they made us feel like, just like Smash Rockwell said, our people are now saying, yo, we have the opportunity to live a good life in the Wazungu kingdom. If you just follow the rules, you
Right.
can get a house, a car, some health benefits,
Mm-hmm.
and a
What did he
loan.
say? They called him Sir or something. They call me Mister.
They
They
started
call me
calling me
Mister.
sir.
Yeah, I was like, is he for real? Yeah, that shit was hilarious.
So what? And so they can't see the bigger picture. The Wazoo can't loan us nothing because they're
Mm-hmm.
poor people. See how they were? They're poor people, bruh.
Mm.
How they go? You can't take from Africa and then give me a loan.
Right.
90% of the platinum comes from Africa, bruh.
Mm-hmm.
90%.
Mm-hmm.
60% of the world's mineral wealth. I mean, how
Mm-hmm.
are you gonna loan me anything? And that leads into capitalism. Why they
Right.
push capitalism? Because you because that's a manifestation of the Wazungu mindset. See, and because people are not divine beings, they're just animals. There's no divine spirit. There is no morality.
Mm.
So it's okay to exploit Africans because that's social Darwinism. That's evolution. They're stupid. The stupid supposed to get exploited.
Wow.
Just like the so-called, when they say the Neanderthals went extinct because they, and the Homo erectus wiped them out, and so the cycle continues. And eventually the indigenous people that haven't evolved, you know, and they still got their primitive culture. They're running around naked in the jungle, and they don't know what to do with their mineral wealth, and they don't have an imagination, and they're eventually gonna get wiped out. And this is what Darwin said in his book:
Mm.
the inferior races will eventually be wiped out by modern man, just like other animals and creatures went extinct.
Wow.
It's in his book, bro.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I tell you, Unc, and nobody in the Brother Baines network will ever debate Lex on this without the hostility. They'll never have a civil, because honestly, I'm gonna tell you the truth, bro. They don't even understand even the Wazungu concepts of revolution. It's ridiculous. Some of it is just ridiculous. A lot of it is true. Organisms did form over time. We can see that process, but the human, the African, is something different. It's almost, we were put together in a divine way. Other things was mechanical. And we even see that in religion. You see, if you read the Bible, right? If you read the Quran, Allah created the heavens in such and such 7 stages. The Bible was giving you evolution in the book of Genesis. But when it came to the human being, you see that even in the mythos, there is something special happening. It wasn't just, oh, in the first day, and you see the evolution process in stages. When we get to the divine human being, it says, let us make man in our image. So even in religion, we see that the human is not even really part of the evolution of the mechanical universe, but actually the universe is unfolding so God can manifest in what he created. And if, like, even if you go to the New Testament, it says all things are created for him and by him. And after
Yeah.
he created everything, then he showed up in his own creation.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Like you've been
So
reading, that sounds very Islamic too. There's a Hadith Qudsi where God said, I was a treasure that wished to be known, so I created that I may be known. You know what I'm saying? So that God
exactly,
could discover it, so God could experience its creation through the creation of us.
exactly. We are the universe discovering itself.
Hmm. I can go
You
for that. Yeah, that's
know,
my beliefs.
you're looking at when you're looking at an African, you are looking at what divine consciousness created to experience for itself in the form
Mm-hmm.
of a human being. The human being is the universal intelligence manifested. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why it becomes so important to reconstruct the reality of the universe for the Wazungu. See,
Mm.
we are creating reality every day with our collective consciousness.
Okay.
So when the Wazungu gives us these other philosophies, he's actually using us as a proxy to create and reconstruct the reality of the universe. It's like somebody taking your head, your hand, because they can't paint, and just making you paint the picture they want. If Africans across the world started to envision a world without Wazungu, it would manifest.
Mm.
It would start to organize. The very atoms in reality would start to wipe them out. That's why they work so hard to keep you in fear, anger, all those lower emotions,
Mm-hmm.
the lack of self-confidence, all of that. They are formidable, bruh. Make no mistake.
Mm-hmm.
People be, oh, just cavemen. Nah, man, stop it, bruh. These people
Right.
are these people are, pretty shrewd. You're talking about basically your doppelganger on
Mm.
the opposite side of the force. That's why we
Yeah.
talk about the dark side and the Sith, and we play on that, what y'all think is sensationalism. And they reversed the polarity where darkness becomes light and light becomes darkness. And so they demonize the darkness because we are the primordial people who come out of the darkness. Light
Mm-hmm.
is a byproduct of darkness. Matter of fact, the darkness encompasses the whole electromagnetic spectrum. All of it is so-called light if you're measuring it. What we call darkness is what we can't see. And that's what Wazungu fears because they have no connection to that. So the darkness becomes the unknown fear that they have. That's why they called you spooks.
Boy, you better teach. You better teach, Lex. I heard that, brother.
That's why
That's
they
right.
called you spooks. They spooked out. They scared of voodoo. They scared of that.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they demonize it and they promote Christianity, Judaism, and Islam.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they keep constant pressure on the Haitians. Because they know when you start calling on your ancestors and drumming them drums, they outlawed the drum.
Mm-hmm.
Why? You know, we had secret societies doing slavery, right? They used to
Mm-hmm.
gather at night and play the drums.
Yeah.
Why did they
Yeah.
outlaw the goddamn drum? Dr. Marimba taught us that rhythm is the harmony of life. They know, bro, right now, this is what I want to tell y'all. This is how powerful we are. If we, if Africans across the world had a drum ceremony worldwide, these people, I don't know what would happen to these people.
Mm. They'd outlaw it.
They would,
They'd
I
panic.
think they might just drop dead. They wouldn't be able to handle the energy.
Yeah.
That drum, they hate that drum, bro.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So it is a war against our culture and the remembrance. And I tell people, do you know that we have binded our ancestors through Christianity and these religions? We actually, that's what I say. You ever watch those missionaries? They go to Africa and they actually be having people say binding their ancestors in the name of Jesus and
Mm-hmm.
casting out their ancestors. And I bind that familiar spirit. Familiar means family. You know that, right? When they say, oh,
Mm-hmm.
you possessed with a familiar spirit, that's a family spirit. That's a bloodline. That's your ancestors. The demons that they talking about are your ancestors.
Mm-hmm.
They're locked in Tartarus.
See, my only thing with is how to, like, in some sense, how do you could, if, and that's a good point. If they're bonded or bounded, and let me say, shouts out in Yame, what's good, brother? I see you up here, blackologist.
Yes,
Peace,
yeah.
peace.
Peace. Um, that, you know, when they're bounded, how do you communicate with them on the other side, especially if that's the language that they spoke on this side? You know, those that were caught in that whole atrocity of colonization, also known as slavery.
I believe personally, and this is just a pseudo me, you
Yeah.
know, and it's funny, I was listening to Dr. Mumby. Y'all should all check out Dr. Mumby's channel. Uh, uh, a great sister from Kenya. You know, she was talking about how some of our ancestors are stuck in purgatory because they still waiting on Jesus. That when they was going to cross over, the ancestors came and they said they thought it was demons. They said, no, you can't be Jesus. I'm waiting on Jesus. Some of them are stuck. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but that's a whole nother, that's
Right.
that's pseudo. You know what I'm saying? I can't prove that. I can't give you no empirical data for that. That's just my so-called pseudo thoughts. You know what I'm saying? But I believe
Mm-hmm.
that we can reach out, we can do ritual, and remember our ancestral relationship was give and take. We're no longer honoring the ancestors, giving off. That's how they stayed alive.
Mm-hmm.
It was a give and take relationship. They gave us guidance, wisdom,
Mm-hmm.
and we gave them a little bit of tobacco and liquor sometime in praise.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
wasn't really that
That's
difficult a thing, bro. You know what I mean?
right. That's all it is. And I agree wholeheartedly with that. Like I said, you know, I have my day of ancestral reverence and remembrance. And that's mainly what it is. It's a give and take. It's a I'm offering this time of you know, setting out this time of the day to remember you, remember the morals, the ethics, all the good things, the righteous things that you taught, and preferably this light, this water will dispel darkness or anything. Also, I'm letting them know that this is not only this particular time will I remember you, that this is a place for you. Because one thing I've realized, and like you said, it's another live, I don't want to digress. One thing I've realized about Egun, about spirit, ancestors, is they're not a respect of time and space. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that exists. It must not exist on the other world because they'll come 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. So I always advise people, get a shrine, set a day, so that these spirits, if you're sensitive, spiritually sensitive, so they're not just bombarding you all times of the night and every hour of the day, keeping you distracted or keeping you from sleep. Set you a time. But I wholeheartedly agree with that. A lot of my ties to Christianity or things like that I put on my shrine or altar are just simply to communicate with them. So we're going to have to come back and revisit that live. And I don't know, you can say it's pseudo or whatever, but that's the wonderful thing about spirituality. It's about, I like to build with people and learn very methods to unlock these
Technology.
ashes to activate. Yeah, because we practice hoodoo. We have that right in America. You know what I'm saying? To practice that which activates our particular ashe, our particular magic. But like I said, that's a whole nother thing.
Right. The altar is a technology. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That's technology. That's an access point. You see what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? We're convinced. That's what I'm saying when Unc is talking about technology and we're behind. The altar is the ultimate spiritual technology. You're creating an access point to communicate with the other side, a
Mm.
sacred space, a
Wow.
space that is cleansed, and it becomes that's cellular technology.
Right. Okay. Brother said, say you take that.
We didn't need
Okay.
a cell phone. And I
Mm-hmm.
believe, I'll take it to a point. I believe at one point we could communicate across long distances, but that's a
Mm-hmm.
whole nother subject, bro. But yeah, man, we always been a scientific people, and our spiritual systems are science, and that's
Yes.
what I mean by now. Does that mean that we don't have the ability to create a spaceship or a car? I believe we did all of that. And
Mm-hmm.
I believe we would do it different though. Like the other day I was saying, like now they're talking about creating electric cars. They should have done that from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
That they can't do things in harmony with nature.
Mm-hmm.
You all now after you done sucked up all the blood of the earth, like the oil don't serve no purpose. Now, oh, you want to, carbon emissions.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything they do is just backward and disconnected, bro. And that's why what I'm saying is we should study what they learn, yes, but with a grain of salt, knowing that it's coming from a mind that is disconnected from nature. So everything they tell us ain't correct. A lot of stuff is correct, but their intentions and it's almost like um, you know, a vampire by nature, it's not evil. A
Mm-hmm.
mosquito is not evil. So take a mosquito and turn it into a human. What is this relationship going to be with human beings? What kind of medicine is it going to create? What kind of systems are vampires going to create? You know what I'm saying? A
Mm-hmm.
capitalistic system.
Yeah.
That's what a vampire would do because their food supply depends on it. So that's how I see it. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, I don't want to talk too much. I think Yami might want to chime in.
Did Did you want to chime in on that, Yame?
Are you a committed person to black people? I'm so glad you asked that question. I believe the liberation and salvation of the black nation must be brought about by black people gaining a thorough knowledge of self.
Peace and power. Did y'all hear the beloved Khalid Muhammad?
Mm-hmm.
He said, a thorough knowledge of self. That's how the black nation is going to come about. And I enjoyed the conversation. I mean, of course, I'm more scientific than you brothers, but I'm definitely a spiritual person. I have my own ways of honoring ancestors. But I enjoyed the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But it's amazing how we can get together and talk about African themes, and that's the beautiful part about it. Just getting together and getting back to a knowledge of self, and revolutionary within itself.
Hmm.
It
So
starts
let
to.
me ask you this then, Inyame. I'm sorry, I cut you off. That's revolutionary in itself. It what? You was
No, I'm
going
just
somewhere
saying
with it.
it begins at the spirit, moves into the mind, and then it manifests in the physical. That's how I see it.
Okay. That's what I was going to ask you. You were saying that, you're a little more scientific than us brothers. Is there a difference? Is there that vast of a difference? What do you think the differences are? And there's some unks that I said, can they be reconciled? Can science and spirit be reconciled? Dear brother Uncle Cat said he didn't believe it can be reconciled. There can be no interworking of the two. What's your thought on that?
I think that it can. I think it definitely can. And in the light of our modern findings, that at the quantum level, that things kind of take on a consciousness more than something we can measure. It's a relationship between all things in the universe. And he made a statement that's foolery, but it's not foolery at the quantum level. Everything is interconnected. Um, my actions and my thoughts affect the quantum level. The quantum level affect me, and we're all interconnected with it.
Hmm.
And that in and of itself is a spiritual working. How do you measure that? How do you measure a person's thought? That's a point where we would never be able to measure that. But we know that it is real, and that our relationship to the quantum world is real. And the quantum world is actually where things really happen. And we're just a manifestation of the quantum world. We are the extension of the unseen. We know things are going on at the quantum world because we measure them on this physical plane, and we're
Hmm.
interconnected with it. That's the science of 2023 and moving on into the future.
Yeah, I mean, even and that's where I don't think because I rarely hear Unc and them ever talk about quantum physics because that's a monkey wrench in their whole game.
Hmm.
Because if the universe is devoid of spirit, then how do we have a relationship between consciousness and matter? Quantum physics have shown that human consciousness affects the way the physical world operates in shape and molded. That's scientific now. Spirituality has been confirmed through quantum physics. That's why they don't talk about it. It's been confirmed, and it's not like you can say it's pseudo because the physicists are the top scientists of today. They're the ones telling us this, that human perception plays a role in the shaping and molding of reality. Now, when was that relationship established? Was it established just 300,000 years ago when we became Homo sapiens sapien? How do we have a relationship with the fundamental particles that create the physical universe if it wasn't a relationship in the beginning that has always been there? Why is it that some physicists say atoms and the fundamental particles that make up the physical universe begin to act differently and arrange themselves differently based on the observation of human consciousness? So it's stupid to think that there's no spirit or intelligence in the universe if you know anything about quantum physics now. And the language that the physicist, he always talks about the scientific language. What do physicists call that relationship, that connectedness? Consciousness. What's the name of that physicist that you always bring up in Yami? I forgot
Um,
his.
Hagelin, I forget his first name.
Yeah, Dr. Hagel.
Hagelin.
Look him up. Look
Yeah.
up Dr. Amwat Goswami. Meet you, Peach you. We can go on and on. So quantum physics is revolutionizing human consciousness and its relationship to the physical world. So for Ankh to say you're conscious because you have a brain, with all due respect, is complete ignorance of the cutting edge of science. So if we take away every brain, cut every human's head off, where does consciousness go? Everything is conscious, and that's African. Everything is conscious. You're looking at the man of everything is a byproduct of intelligence and consciousness.
Yeah, and his name is Dr. John Hagelin. Uh, the physics of consciousness.
Right. How do you explain the placebo effect? That's a real scientific studies that have been done. Give one person a sugar pill and say, yeah, this is gonna heal you, and all of a sudden their body begins to heal itself just because they believe it. And this is what I'm saying. People get mixed up with religion. They think belief and faith is just connected to dogmatic religion. That is a science. Belief is a power. You don't have to have a religion. When you believe something, it activates something. Check out Dr. Bruce Lipton's book, The Biology of Belief. He proved that in laboratory experiments that people's belief actually turn genes on and off. Their perception is deciding their genetics. That's what we call epigenetics today. These to me, this is like almost ridiculous. It's a ridiculous conversation at this point when we're talking about modern science.
But I do understand it that Black people, we do need to get more into science and less into just I believe, like a Sanchez. Just because you believe, you don't want to do no testing, no measurements,
No,
no
that's different,
mathematics.
though, Yami. What I'm talking about, and I hear what you're saying. Like I believe the Earth is flat. That's stupid. I'm talking about I believe I can heal from this. I believe that African people will overcome. That's a power, not like blind belief. Like, well, I just believe. But go ahead. I just wanted to, make that distinction.
Yeah. And I wasn't talking about the first step of okay, I believe, then I know, and then I perform it. Just this blind, okay, the earth is flat, I just see it flat, and that's all to it. I'm not gonna take it any further. I'm not gonna buy a telescope. Just the laziness out there in a lot of what we believe. So I see that point, but there is a lot of science behind why people have faith. Why people think the way that they do, and why consciousness is universal. There's a lot of science behind it.
Yeah. So that kills that you're conscious because you have a brain. That's crazy. It's beyond the brain. And there's even been studies on that. There's a study, what was the study? I forget. Where they showed that they was measuring people making decisions and showed that from putting scanners on the brain that the decision was made before it even registered in the brain. So they can put a scan on your head, right? A scanner on your head to measure the electromagnetic activity in the brain. And when you make a decision, certain parts of the brain light up. But they did experiments that showed that the decision was made before it registered in the brain. The brain is a conduit of consciousness. It is not consciousness itself. That's stupid. because consciousness is not tangible.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the whole, idea of just empirical data is, that's anti-African. Because if we just say everything is empirical data, our whole culture falls apart. We were just a bunch of monkeys running around, with weird belief systems. You can't give no empirical data on on the ancestral realm, but evidence. The evidence is the fruit and the working. Like when you had issues and you go to your Babalao or whatever, and they perform a ritual, that's pseudo. But when you find that money, that's the evidence.
I would say it like this. Have you ever been around your grandmother and she said, man, you act just like your uncle, or you act like your great grandfather? You never met him, but you act like him. How is that even possible? So our people and people in general know that there's something more. We just never had the tools to measure it, but we know that there's something more happening. Like, why would a great grandchild act like their great grandfather who they never met, or have these certain characteristics? And they knew that before we even knew about genetics, and how now they're talking about that genes can hold memory. It goes much deeper than that, but I'm saying just on a basic level, if we wanted to debate it on an empirical level, that there is data out there. Even our ancestors live through the genetic code, and we bring that genetic code to life. Even if we wanted to stop there, the ancestors still live through the genes, and we are a manifestation of those genes.
Exactly. Those
If we
genes.
just wanted to stop there, we can win that debate. And our ancestors knew this before we even knew genetic sequencing, because they
Exactly.
experienced it. They had an experience of it. And to me, religion, yes, there's a lot of made up stuff where people want to control people. But religion is trying to explain things that people experience. And they are explaining it based upon their culture. It looks like this in India, and it looks something different in China, or it looks something different in the Congo. But if you really look at it, it's their experience. They are experiencing something. They don't quite know the words to use to measure what they experience, but they know that they're experiencing. Like, how can you tell somebody they're not really experiencing what they're experiencing? You really can't. But it's their interpretation, and it's something we're born with. We're born with it, and all an evangelist does, all a preacher does, is he ignites that spark that's already in you. He awakens something that's already in you, and then you go from there, or you let it lay dormant. It depends on the individual, but it's much bigger than what the scientific community is talking about right now, and I understand why.
And the greatest scientists even acknowledge that. Like, like when we speak about things like the Akashic records, right? And the thing is that everything past, tense, future, where everything is recorded in a sense. You know what I'm saying? Even in religion, they call it the judgment day, when the records would be opened, right? So everything you do is recorded, even in you, in memory, right? So we call that the subconscious, or or when someone hypnotizes you, you find out you can't recall it now, but if I put you under hypnosis, now you remember what happened to you when you was 3 years old. Now think about that. Now that we know that cells hold epigenetic memory, right? And so we know now they're connecting things that happened to us in the past are being passed down us epigenetically, and whether it was a good experience or bad experience is going to affect the gene expression. So that means that all information of your ancestors is contained within your cellular genetic memory. How is that? That's what we call it, a membrane or memory brain. So, bro, like this is what is was amazing. It's like I don't know if these dudes actually study this stuff, because the things that they're saying where they're just trying to make everything mechanical and like there's no intelligence and spirit in the world, that is not nothing. That's not lining up with modern information. And then when we talk about DNA alone, bro, like there's no explanation. I tell you what, Yenga, next time you have Unc on here, tell him to tell you the origin of DNA. And you know how they get around this now? Even when they talk about evolution, what they say is evolution doesn't deal with how life started. It only explains what happened after life came to be.
Mm-hmm.
Why do they do that? Because they can't explain how, and that's a lie too, because they have something called chemical evolution and the creation of stars that they try to explain through the big bang and what's called nucleosynthesis, which is the smashing of atoms together and fusion, which creates the chemicals, which ultimately ends up creating the suns or the stars,
Mm-hmm.
they say. Then the stars explode and they create the heavier elements. You know what I'm saying? Then we get
Mm-hmm.
water, and within the water, they say you have the chemicals of life. But now those chemicals, right, that
Mm-hmm.
formed life, how do they arrange if there's no intelligence inside of them? So this is why they say, oh, biological evolution. They used to say lightning. They used to call it abiogenesis, right?
Mm-hmm.
When they try to say the way life was produced, they called it abiogenesis. Lightning struck water, and somehow that arranged, chemicals,
Mm-hmm.
and we get the first. And that was ridiculous because they tried to reproduce it and they couldn't do it. So how would dead, lifeless chemicals arrange themselves in mathematical formulas to produce what we call biology, living biology? They can't explain it. So that's why they started saying, well, biology only explains biology once it's here, not how it got here. See, and that's where the Wazungu mind stops. Because spirit explains how those chemicals arrange themselves, because it was intelligence behind it. And then in order to even get biology, you got to have DNA. Think about this. A cell, the most simple cell, has what's called DNA. DNA is instructions. How do you get instructions without intelligence?
Mm-hmm.
How do you get a computer program without a programmer? Yo, it's stupid. And that's why when I go into DNA, I always talk about the DNA is a code. Anyone just study a little about programming and you realize DNA is an actual code. You know what I'm saying? Like any other programming language. Like somebody had to program StreamYard. StreamYard didn't
Mm-hmm.
arrange itself randomly. StreamYard, everything that's happening here is a piece of code that says, do this. If that happens, do this. If that happens, calculate it like this. And that's why our voices is coming through this. That was all programmed. The avatars that you see, that was programmed. The graphics, the way it operates, everything. It's a code, a program that given instructions to follow through. The DNA works the same way. So in the nucleus of a cell is DNA. How did it get there? How can you have a code that creates, I'm talking about the most phenomenal organisms. You know, we ain't talking child's play. You know what I'm saying? We talking about the human brain, the way your eyes work, blood circulation. All of this is coded. Your eye color, epigenetics, memory, transcription. So to say that there's no intelligence and no spirit in the universe is some Wazoogle BS. Because they just don't, because they fear that intelligence for some reason. And that goes back to your Rugu, man.
Well, let's ask the tough question, because I know this was a lot of times when we got going back and forth our debates, our point of contention was the stimia. And this is why I said I was surprised at the response to Ankh. You know, shouts out to the Amon Rock Squad pseudo killer. I appreciate him doing the show. I was surprised at the response that you had. So how will we keep stimia from falling into that same category of being divorced of spirit or connection to spirit, since it is largely steeped, or the philosophy of it is science, technology, engineering, and math?
Well, stimia is spiritual in the first place. Like, it's based on science, technology, engineering, math, but the concept of a goddess, and here's what I come to recognize. Spirits are created. They're thought forms that take on a life. We created our deities, and they became real because we believed in them. Do you know that if you have a thought, the more you focus on that thought, the more energy you put into that thought, the bigger it grows. They even teach this now in neuroscience. You have what's called neuroplasticity. The brain itself, every time you learn some information, the more repetitive that information creates what's called a neuron or a neural net, right? And the more repetitive, this is what ritual is about.
Right.
The more you visit something, the more you focus on something, a thought form grows. The problem with some of these thought forms is they took on a life of their own. Like Frank, that's what's going on with the Wazungu religions, where the ego, when we talk about your Rugu and the demiurge, these thought forms take a life on their own and they can turn against you. It's just like negative thought patterns. You know, you think about something too long and that becomes an evil spirit in your life. You created it. So when you have a collective consciousness, the more the word stimia is said, the more people acknowledge stimia, the more life, to a point where collective consciousness will birth the deity. That's how we birthed our deities. That's how they become real, because we believe they're real.
Right. Lex, I think you cutting yourself with me on this one.
Yeah.
Remember I told you about the AME?
What is that?
The AME church? Remember I was saying that's something we created because we needed it at the time. The African Methodist Episcopal Church.
Yeah, I know, but I'm not acknowledging that. No.
That was never in existence.
I forgot the brother's name who founded it. Outstanding abolitionist and freedom fighter. I forgot the brother's name who founded the African Methodist Episcopal Church. What's his name?
Absalom Jones? Absalom Jones, I believe it is.
I think, Absalom Jones. Yes, it was.
Nami. And here's my rebuttal to y'all. I acknowledge that we took Christianity, Judaism, and Islam and implemented it in our spiritual systems out of necessity, though.
Look, I agree, but we made it real. Just like you just said, we gave it life.
And now I'm saying, okay, fine, but what do we need it now for?
I think we added to the pantheon.
Yeah, man, but it's just like, yo, just get rid of the Wazungu shit, bro. It's we don't need it. I hear that, but we just don't need it. It's like, all right,
Yeah,
Jesus,
Richard Allen
we
too.
we created a separate type of Jesus, obviously. You
Right,
know, like
right,
the black
right.
Jesus, but like just the fact that uh it's like how can I explain it? Um yeah, it's like, man, we're given something and we're able to transmute it and try to make it work
Exactly.
for us, right?
Spiritual alchemy. It was spiritual alchemy.
Right. But I'm saying that it was something done out of necessity. So why not just return to the raw and the real? Because we don't need, because it don't have anything that we need that we really didn't have. It was something done out of necessity, out of a
'Cause,
reaction. You see what I'm saying?
well, I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna jump in and I'm gonna tell you one of the reasons why. I think because we become diluted. I don't think like, like I acknowledge Odumare Olo Olafi. I acknowledge Odumare. I know Olodumare is that energy. You know what I'm saying? I know it is universe, almighty, all things. However, it doesn't activate particular ashes in me because we have like you guys were just saying, we through years and generations of incorporating something in our spiritual system, we have empowered that thing. Like the cross, it didn't so much like the crucifix. To me, when I see it, I see the crossroads. I see a leg, but nonetheless, the crucifix is not so much the power of the Christ, but the power of generations and generations and generations of Black people believing that to be real. I think that when we begin to just discard everything, we cut, especially in hoodoo, we cut so much of our ashe,
But
and
don't
I
we
don't think
empower
that,
the other side of that at the same time? That's what I'm saying. Like, while we do have our own version, to some degree, we're still empowering
well,
and giving life to the other side of it too.
I,
So it's like a
well,
it's
when
like
you
a double-edged sword.
sword, yeah, but when you talking religion, I mean, that's a catch-22 because they do the same thing, and it's in all of its inception, it really all goes back to us. So even when they do it, you know what I'm saying, it still is still kind of empowering. If we're looking at it like that, of the origin of a thing, then they're empowering us also. You know what I'm saying? What I'm more contemporary with it, with like, okay, we've used it for so long that we have made it our certain aspects of it. So while to me, and this is just coming from a hoodoo perspective, I don't offend no Muslims, Jews, or Christians. You guys have your perspective, and I'm definitely going to do a show on this. But I believe, especially from a hoodoo perspective, it has just become like a part of the ritual. It's something that we have empowered. It's something that particular energy recognizes and acknowledges, like, my labor. Some people would see my leg as a rock with Corey shells in it. They'd be like, what's that, a rock? But that Alegba recognizes that effigy, recognizes that. So Alegba's energy, or Eshu's energy, will come to my Alegba. You see what I'm saying? So it's like we incorporate those things, and it takes on new or it takes
I
on a
agree,
specific
man.
power for us.
It's hard to argue against what y'all are saying. My argument would be is Jesus is in Ghana right now in a big white blue-eyed statue. That's you see, like, you
Yeah,
know what I'm
right, yeah,
saying?
yeah.
Word.
So it's a double. It's
Yeah.
like, and as long as we give it some type of leeway, like, I mean, everybody I know, my friend came back from Ghana. He told me he was shocked. He's like, I was going thinking I'm going to Ghana, I'm going to Black Land. I get off the plane, get in Accra, and there's this big ass picture of, I'm talking about the hillbilly white boy on a stick. You see what I'm
Hmm.
saying? So
Hmm.
it still leaves the door open for that, is what I'm saying. In America, we have, like I said, hoodoo, but in a bigger scope, that Jesus that conquered us still has a door. That's my only argument. But it's hard to argue against what y'all are saying. You know what I'm saying?
You got a great point. You got a great point. The dilemma. That is a good point, though.
Yeah,
It's difficult to say the least. It's definitely difficult. But like I see Joshua, or as y'all would say, Jesus, as the spoken word. So my spirituality is my thoughts and the words that I choose. I believe in words. The words we use will manifest, either good or bad. That's how I see it. The word made manifest. Not all the other stuff that people add on to it. But our battle is to get Wazungu out of our mind, out of our heart, out of our spirit. That's the warfare. And I say, whatever it takes to get that out of you, do it. If you got to do a ritual and burn the Bible to get it out, I will support you.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. Like, we are seriously possessed by the Wazungu spirit, and although we took some of their ways, I'm saying, like, how do we exercise that? And yet, you know, and I always you ever watch those horror movies and they're wondering like what happened, and then they go to like a spiritualist, and then the spiritualist is like, what's that on your neck? Like, oh, this is something I bought in Egypt when it and they're like, yo, get that out and go burn that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
and that's what I'm saying with the religion thing, with the leftover. It's like that little medallion on your neck. And it's like that's what, and the spiritual tell, well, that's where it came from, yo. You like, and so it's difficult when we're saying we want to flush out the Wazungu spirit completely, but at the same time, you know, be like, well, we adapted it and this and that. It's like there's just some dirt that comes with it, I think, in order for us to be, you know, it's like a drug addict. They can't dabble at all. They can't say, well, you know, I've been free from crack 3 months. I can smoke a little crack tomorrow, or I've been off of heroin for 6 years now. A one little taste. No, you taste it and you're right back there.
Exactly. You know, here's my problem though. Being, you know, one of those people that are socially interactive. Like, you can get rid of all of that. However, if it doesn't raise your morals and ethics, what have you just done? Like, I think about my grandmother, like, or my great grandfather, who is the patriarch of my family. So he's on my shrine, and I think about his morals and ethics, and he was a deacon in church. Then I think about Uganda, you know what I'm saying, who has all the African verbiage. He has all the African dress, but it's so commercial. You know, he's robbing the people, tricking the people. So I mean, it's that type of thing with me. At what point do we say, you know, okay, yeah, you're a Christian, you're a Muslim, you're all of these things, but if they're showing, do we just throw out their black interactions, their good social behavior, they're contributing to the black community, they're wanting to see, is that all a trick, or do we just embrace you know, the brother who or the sister whom has embraced all the Africanness on the outside, but it's not translating into good action? Do we, it'll make them Christian?
Yeah, like I'm gonna tell you, bro, like I come from a family, I'm talking about, that has churches, uncles that have their own churches, pastors, deacons. My mother was a gospel singer. You know what I'm saying? Like, if like my grandmother told me, boy, you on your way to the pits of hell.
You're gonna bust here wide open.
Yeah, you know, yeah, Sister Noble said that to me
I already know.
recently, right?
Did she say that? She said that after your enlightenment and elevation.
She said that after I made that.
Like finding that.
You broke up a little bit.
I said you said that she said that when after you what?
My grandmother?
Yeah.
No, I was talking to my grandmother some
Uh-oh.
years ago about some blackety black stuff. And she listened to me for about a half hour and said, "Boy, you on your way to the pits of hell." So and my
Boy, you gotta
grandmother was
love
the
them
sweetest.
grandmothers.
Like so you have a legit thing. Like, no, we can't discount that there are some people that Christianity makes them great humans. I don't. I think people take it wrong. My hard stance. I'm saying they're great humans, and they may, have all the best intentions. And I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that's fine. But at the same time, moving forward, that's not what we're gonna teach our children.
Mhm.
You know what I'm
Right
saying?
on. I heard
There's
that.
good Muslims, there's good Christians, and there's even good Jews that practice morality. But I'm saying that, and even the example you gave with the dude that's wearing the dashiki, flipping pies, talking, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
he's not practicing the principles of Ephod though. He's not even,
Mhm.
so he's not even being real, because how are you taking care of the community? You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
there's a level of, yeah, you can be a fake anything, you know,
Right.
but my thing is, and I've been through all these religions, and I know, man, you want to talk, when I was a Muslim, man, I never had such brotherhood.
Mhm.
When I was a Muslim, I was in a gang. And I mean, I don't mean to say, I mean, like, if I went to the mosque and was like, yo, this kuffar is bothering me, I have brothers that'd be like, bro, we go bomb these cats. Some
Mhm.
old whack ass kuffar messing with a believer. They was brothers for real. You see what I'm saying? Like, I learned brotherhood and discipline from Islam. Muslim
Mhm.
brothers, they don't play with their faith. I'm talking about the real serious ones. And they don't play with the
Mhm.
kuffar. The problem is, when I wasn't Muslim, I wasn't a brother no more.
Mhm.
I,
Right. Believe that.
you know what I'm saying? That's the problem. You see what I'm saying? Because a lot of, and I know there's different, sects of Islam's and understanding, and that's really
Mhm.
mostly like Sunni or whatever. But a lot of those brothers that are in Sunni, blackness means nothing if you don't believe in Allah.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Mhm.
So it's a complex thing, and that's what I'm saying. In order for to embrace it, it takes too much management. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, there's the Yanga Muslim. We rock with that. But then there's this, so it's like, okay, how are we gonna manage all this different Islam when we can just
Mhm.
get back to Ifa and just be like, yo, like, and we got the same principles, if not even better, I think, in voodoo. Cause now I gotta deal with my grandmother. I gotta deal with my aunt, my uncle's a pastor.
Right.
It's like it's a lot of management in that.
It is, but I say even Ifa isn't enough. Ifa isn't enough. The Orishas, they're not
Not
enough.
in itself, nah. That's not the answer. Like, if we all just start practicing Ifa,
Yeah.
I'm just saying that is, at least we're getting back to ourselves and we can work from there. There's no outside influence. You know what I'm saying? There's no confusion. There's no confusion of what's the name of God. You know what I'm saying? There's no discomfort in what I'm doing and you seeing what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Like, if I bring my altar, man, if I bring a altar to Ogun in grandma's house, I'm out of there, bro. Out of there.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm
but
gonna give an example. I'm gonna give an example,
but
and this is why it's difficult because I believe the power is already in us, and we can use the
right,
Quran or the Bible just to spark it. My mom and dad used every Friday, man, they would party and just drink and smoke. And it was one Friday night. My mom was drinking, smoking. She said, let's go to this church. I hear everybody talking about it. And she drunk. She walked in the church and all the women just got around her and just start praying. My mom never smoked another cigarette, never took another drink of alcohol from night forth. And it wasn't the power of God, but it was those women praying over her, loving her, saying, we want to see you free. That's what changed her life.
Well, that is the power of God, though.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah.
she believed it too.
And that's why I talked about black men leaving the black church. That was to me, the women tend to be more spiritual than most of, you know what I mean, on average, than most of this. And it was, to me, it was like we left our spirit behind. And it's like, when you look at it, the shit that we complained about leaving the church was shit that we could have changed. You know what I'm saying? It's like, well, damn, you know what I mean? Because we're in charge of the doctrine.
Like what? Mm-hmm.
Like
break it
you know
down.
What I mean? Like, to me, I would say that we, in a lot of ways, we left the women to the, like, we.
Mm-hmm. Oh, man. He sounded like he was in the subway or
Jesus
something.
zapped the hell out of you, nigga. You need Jesus, bro. You better let that voodoo shit go.
Jesus.
Hey, before we go, I want to
Lex, I can identify with that, man. Hold on, what's that? Because I can identify with that, what your grandmother said, and I've shared this with y'all before. I was going through a ritual, started getting into the culture. You are right, man. We are so ingrained. Certain teachings are so embedded. When my EI hit chicken and that blood went to flying and certain things was done, that's the first they had. The brother took 2 steps back. They had to hold me because the first thing that popped in my head was what your grandma said, I'm going to bust hell wide open. I got a ticket to hell. But this is what snapped me out. I bust hell wide open fucking with this African shit. And I couldn't believe that was a thought in my head. I couldn't believe that happened. I said, I'm going to bust hell open for this African shit. And I couldn't believe me, Mr. Black, Mr. Africa, really had that thought. And that's when I knew how deep religious neocolonialism went. You know what I'm saying? So I that's why I had to laugh at what your grandmother said. I know that to be the fact. You know, and anybody, when you really first start getting into culture, if you guys be with yourself, you know, when y'all did the first item move or that first bow or something real African when blood was involved, and like we said, the drums got turned up and people and spirit began the wild began to ride people. You know, somewhere in your mind, you was like, what the hell am I doing? You know, so that is, so I can, you know, there's some very good points being made tonight.
Yeah, and I realized for the last couple of days, I started revisiting the characteristics of the Orisha, and I realized why Jesus was so powerful. Jesus has every attribute of basically every deity. Jesus is, when you look at Obatala, whose color is white, who represents death and resurrection, the creator of mankind. And you look at Legba, he's the opener of the way, the rest to talk to the rest of the Orisha or the Great Spirit. Jesus is Legba. Jesus is, that's why they say, all you need is Jesus.
Is Jesus.
Because Jesus, I mean, he got every attribute that you can think of.
I told y'all this nigga Jesus is the dude off of Martin, bro. You know, when you walk into the fast food restaurant, you ask to speak to the manager and shit. And then, you know what I mean? It's the same motherfucker that was flipping the burger. And then you look over, it's the same nigga that was like shaking the fries and shit.
Right.
Yeah, the motherfucker come,
right.
Jesus come around the corner with the mop.
You go get an oil change. You go get an oil change. Jesus come change your oil.
It's Jesus right there.
Right.
All you need
Let's see this
Right.
nigga one more time.
You know what? I forget what movie did something like that. It might have been that movie. Man, what movie was that? You went into town. All my man did was put on different hats. He was like, "Up, you getting a
Yeah.
ticket for a busted tail light." He put on the
You,
hat on the sheriff. And he said, "Well, how can I get it fixed?" He said, "Go over to the mechanic." So he said, "Where's the mechanic at?" My man put the mechanic hat on. He said, "I'm the damn
Yeah, he
mechanic.
yeah,
got.
I'm the
He's
judge.
yeah.
devastated,
I'm the all of that."
and maybe
You said
that I
what?
think that's where the power is, like in terms of our ancestral memory. Because remember, when he's walking on water, he's Yin and Ya. He's Oshun too. Like
Yeah.
he got power over all the
Mommy
elements.
water. Yeah.
Like
Mm-hmm.
so that man, it's a heavy psychological construction, bruh. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Because
I mean, it's
all the
witchcraft.
ancestral memory in us, we can see it in the character of Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
something I wanted to
Yeah.
add in on too that you were talking about earlier. You was talking about the like when you get to talking about the last evolution of man and the connection with religion and that and see this is the issue that happens with religion. Invalid when they validate stories like the Exodus, when they validate people like the Israelites or the Hebrews, they are trying to validate. This is another. They use the Bible as it's another slick way of this of validating the what is it, the Black Caucasus. You know what I'm saying? And they try to put this, and that's why I remember. This is why Zondervan in the Zondervan Bible dictionary. Remember, he had it where Ham was the progenitor of all of the dark races except for the Negro. Now, and a lot of niggas were saying, well, that's because the Negro was Shem. No, they were doing that because it goes into the same science that they are the last evolution of man. And what they were saying was Shem. I mean, not Shem, but they were saying was the Negro, which is in the term of it is sub-Saharan Africa. And why they use that term sub-Saharan African is to kill off our glory. Because if you move us from above the Sahara, then you have to attribute agriculture to us. You have to attribute language to us. You have
He
to attribute the writing systems. You know what I mean, masonry, all of that shit. So they
Mm-hmm.
kill that, and in order to do that, they have to have Abraham. They have to have this incident that happened. This is the importance of Ham, Shem, and Japheth in the
Mm-hmm.
flood. This is a realignment of the planet, and a, and a,
Right,
and, a,
right.
and and it's a handing over. And so we agreed to hand over our allotment from our ancestors over to Ham under the false pretense that we are Hamites when we're not even mentioned in the story.
Right, I
Mm-hmm.
agree.
Peace, KOT. We see you out there, man. Appreciate you falling through, bruh.
and that's a prime
KOT said
example.
God is here. I see KOT over in your chat. KOT said he's not going for
You
y'all
go,
talking about
right?
his African Bible.
KOT is
Chat
a
beat up
prime
on him pretty bad
example,
though.
Yanga, as to why we so hard. Like with all the information that we talk about, no matter what he hears, he just no. Like it could be the most extravagant
Is that
like
me?
breakdown. He has the disease of, you know what I'm saying? Like that's why I say it's dangerous. Like even, you know what I'm saying? Like how do we manage that? Because KOT
Mhm.
ain't never gonna acknowledge Ogun. That brother, no
Yeah.
matter what you say, he is dedicated to his destruction.
I mean, does he have to acknowledge Ogun? Like, I'm gonna have to get KOT up here. Is it imperative that he acknowledge Ogun, or does KOT? Do you put the
He
Hebrew
believes
teaching
Ogun,
before
bro.
being black?
He believes
Uh huh.
Ogun is a demon.
Oh. Okay, that's a
I mean,
problem.
you almost
That's a
have
problem
to
already,
though,
right there.
because You almost have to, because this is, remember, the part of it is you're becoming, you're now a new created being. You know what I'm saying? Once you accept the
Mm-hmm.
truth, you are not the same person that you were. So now they get to play the semantics. Now there's no more Greek and Jew. There's no more, even though at the end of the day we all gonna have to serve in this Israelite kingdom, because even in the Quran they sending you back to Islam. I mean to Israel. Even facing Mecca, you facing the same. You know what I'm saying? You doing, it's all the same goal, and you like it. They all equal the same goal.
And
Put us
that's
back to rebuild this fucking land of Israel, whether it be for the Arabs or the damn Jews. And really, if you look at the Quran, it's telling you it's gonna be for the Jews. That's the
and
worst
Why do you
part.
say that?
Like,
but hold on, look at this too. What
Why do you
Blue is
say?
saying, right? The problem also is we know that a lot of those stories come out of our stories anyway, but the Wazungu
Yeah,
formed it in a way where it is aggression. Because remember, and let's be real, Yanga, even in Islam, Judaism, Christianity, remember all of the gods are false gods.
yeah,
Everybody,
yeah.
mm,
these are all heathens.
Mm-hmm.
The gods of the
Mm-hmm.
nations are demons and false gods. They're all led astray. That's the problem with monotheism, and that's what Dr. Marimba
Yeah,
was
yeah.
pointing out, that oneness, they trying to act like it's a oneness, but the oneness is really the oneness of their mind, saying that we have to be in power. It's just
Mm-hmm.
manifesting
right.
the religion.
Yeah, yeah,
You see what I'm saying?
It,
So
yeah.
there's no compromise
I
with them.
yeah. I've never understood that's like he
so
said that they uh I'm sorry, that they play with the intellect. This is where my science and
right.
so-called religion comes in. Like, even in Islam, like you said, they got the Asma wa Sifat, they got 99 names of God, but they teach a monotheism. Christianity got God broken in these various aspects, but they teach a monotheism. It's like you said, it insults the intellect, and it takes
Yeah, because
away
it's voodoo.
knowing.
I was
Boy,
gonna
you
say,
on
yeah,
that
because
good?
you,
Who's that
even
coughing
when you
right now?
look
Boy,
at
what you puffing on, son? You know what
well,
I
yeah, but
That nigga
I
puffing
was
on
gonna
that
say,
leg by opening the way out
Yeah, I
there.
know that's right. He opening up the gate.
Yeah,
hey, hey,
Shit.
man,
I'm
hey, I
getting the
can't take
contact way
that
over
mud to
here.
save my life. But I was gonna say, because even when you go into the Torah, they using the Urim and the Thummim in order to get messages from God. And the law of adultery, they making the woman drink a drink to decide to see if she cheated or not. It determines on if she die after she drank the drink. They ain't even asking Yahweh, yeah, YHWH. So it's like,
Mm,
damn. But I was gonna
mm.
ask you too, Yanga. So you're are you under the like with Jesus coming back to break the cross? Are you under that assumption also? Well, not assumption, but you heard of that, right?
Yeah, yeah. As far as Islamic teachings, yeah, that he's coming back to break the cross.
You you ever found it odd that Jesus is coming back? Even in the
No,
Quran,
not
they waiting on Jesus.
to come back. Yeah, well, you know how they explain it. They explain it that he never died and that he was taken up and that he was taken and that so his
Right,
mission was never completed. So he's going to come back and then he's going to break the cross and kill the swine. And Ibn Taymiyyah interprets that as destroy the church that began to worship him. And and the
right.
swine, the filth. And then it's going to be somebody called the Mahdi. You heard about the Mahdi and shit. So then the
Yeah,
Mahdi supposed to come, and the Mahdi is supposed to establish rules. So Jesus is supposed to bow down to the Mahdi because Jesus would have completed his task when he comes back,
Now
according to
show me.
according to some Islamic extengencies.
Now why is it in Ifa and Voodoo or any system in Africa, what God is coming back? You notice that's what I'm
Right,
saying.
because they
Like,
never leave. Yeah,
exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's why
yeah,
you know it's
yeah.
Wazungu. Why are they somewhere else? And when they come back, it's war again, and they're gonna take over. And it's always they're coming back to take over and wage war. And that's why I say, man, you're talking about
But
Independence
Hmm.
Day, man. An alien
and they're
invasion.
always. But then look at this too, though. And this is what makes it dangerous, though. They're always trying to get invited. They always need you to open up your heart first.
Hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
like think like God, this the creator. You are, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's
Right.
already
Yeah.
there.
But
He's
you
supposed to
ever
be.
heard of that? The vampire lore.
Yeah,
But a vampire cannot enter your home unless he's invited.
Hmm.
invited.
Hmm.
There you go.
Hmm.
So they're always
Well,
coming back. And that's the problem I have. Like the Orisha are here. They're a part of the very workings of nature and the earth. Like they're
hmm.
the Wazungu religions just seem they're dead. They're why are they off? Where are they at? I mean, they're on another planet in another dimension. And why are they coming? Why did they leave? And why are they coming back? You know what I'm saying? Y'all remember there was
Hmm.
a movie called, I think it was called 54th District, where there was these
Oh
aliens
yeah,
that were on Earth, and
or
they were
District
being
54 or something like that.
yeah, District 50, yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
they were being mistreated and all this, and one of them escaped, and he said, "I'll be back in 3 years,"
Mm.
and that's what I'm
Hmm.
saying, like. So they gonna come back to save their fellow aliens or whatever, but it's like I don't see how we don't see that as an alien invasion. Something coming out of the
You
sky.
hear it in the Bible story. The us, let us come down and confuse them. You know what I mean? It's like, well, who the fuck is the us? Like that should tell you that the story of Babel in itself. Like, who the fuck was we at war with? These motherfuckers see we all together and and you can see it because if you look at Africa, it's the most diverse language, like in language and everything in the world. Like, you ain't gonna get no more diverse. You can go to fucking one country in Africa, and the language is so diverse. You know what I mean? So it's like you when you looking at the Tower of Babel and it talking about us speaking, you know what I mean, building together and being together. To me, that's some real shit. Like, we ain't been together, if you ask me, since that whatever that incident really represents.
Right.
We ain't been together since
Hmm.
then.
Hmm.
Like, that's the split and the fall of us globally.
The confusion of tongues, yo. Yeah.
Hmm.
And so I wonder,
Hmm.
like, um, you notice that in indigenous religions, I think is a big difference is there's no aggression at all. There's not one country that practices Ifa that is not an African country. You see what I'm saying? There's nowhere where it was like
Hmm.
the voodoo priests invaded India and now everyone was forced to practice Ifa.
Right.
Right. We didn't have, they didn't have the E5 invasion.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying?
Right.
And that goes back to what
Now you
Dr.
gotta be brought
Yoringa
in
was
the
saying.
fuck.
It's an aggressive culture and their religion comes out, it manifests like that. They proselytize. I have never seen an evangelist, a voodoo evangelist on TV saying you better accept Papa Legba
Right.
or you going to hell. Oh yeah, and another thing I want to say real quick
Hmm.
is there is no evil power in term. There is no Satan.
Right. Right.
Like and what I found when I was talking about earlier is when they translated the Bible in the Swahili. I was reading this earlier that blew my mind. For Satan, Yanga, they use the word
Hmm.
SU.
Really? You know what?
Yes.
It doesn't surprise me though. It doesn't surprise me. And I've seen it in
That's
because I've
disgusting.
seen it on television. Yeah, you see it on television all the time. You see it, people going to the crossroads making deals with SU. You see them, and also are either Baron from the Loire, something like this. So it doesn't surprise me that they came and deified. And I like what you said, in the African code, there is no, the good or bad is you. You know what I'm saying? There is no devil. You the good or bad, you the conduit. You know what I'm saying? Like the Orisha have positives and negatives. And what I love about the Orisha and the Loa, I think I heard you say one time, Lex, is that not only are there aspects of nature to keep us to have a reverence for nature, your water clean, Oshun, Mother Oshun, the rivers, Yemiya. Fact about Yemiya too. Let me digress. Why Yemiya personally one of ours, as far as black Africans here in America. Yemiya is a river over there. But they say when they took us on the boats, Yemiya followed the boats. Yemiya followed the boat and became the energy, the goddess, the deity, that manifestation of the oceans. So that's deep. So that's a personal attachment that I think that we owe the great mother. If you're into that type of culture and science, I just wanted to share that without, because I thought it was heavy when I heard it. Can you imagine? And I don't know, me, I do get fanciful. So I imagine the mass and the width of Yemiya following the boats for her children. Damn, that's heavy. But anyway, like you said, man, so it doesn't surprise me that they used SU like that. So I just had to throw that in there.
Right. Because
Yeah.
SU is I guess you could say has the attribute of a devil in a sense, because he's a trickster, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
sometimes I think he was depicted with horns sometimes, but that represented what? The challenges of life pushing you forward.
Absolutely.
Like,
Absolutely.
you know what I'm
So many
saying?
lessons in
So
that. What so many lessons. I'm sorry for cutting you off. I got excited because that's my guy too, Eshu. So many lessons in that. And also to be cautious of what you ask for is just like you said, he's a trickster, to be mindful and focus and purpose. Like you can ask Papa Legba for $1,000. But if not asked right, if not done with the right thing, you'll break your legs in a car accident. You got your $1,000. You know what I'm saying? No problem. But you so that's why dealing with them trickster spirits are important. All right, just wanted to throw that out there, man.
yeah, yeah, you know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
yeah.
But within all of that, man, the more you start to understand, you understand, and that's what I'm saying about what Ankh was saying that is so Wazungu. Those forces are in these mythos and stories. We knew about these
Mm-hmm.
forces.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We knew about those signs. They're inside it. Like I be telling people, and I don't even think the priest ever. I never. This was my own revelation. Like Ogun, the god of iron, war removes obstacles, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for me,
Mm-hmm.
naturally, it's talking about the mineral iron also.
Yes.
The iron in
Yes.
your body. See how it becomes
Mm-hmm.
realistic, though.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
got the mythos and and all of that, but also iron is the mineral that magnetizes every other mineral in your body, that brings them all together. You know what I'm saying? But and also, so he's the god of war that removes obstacles, and he's represented by iron. He's sometimes holding the sword, move obstacle, but it becomes a real reality in terms of everyday practical living. We embody
Mm-hmm.
the principle. That's the
Yeah.
difference to me. So when I hear, people saying that, oh, we were, we were illogical for thousands, man, that's stupid, bro. We were
Mm.
illogical for thousands of years. We wasn't practicing science. That's what I'm saying. That comes back down to worldview and what you consider science.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
The last evolution of man.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, and this the worst part. I would say that they want to reduce us to we only had mud huts. They're taking the fucking mud huts from us, bro. We haven't even created mud huts. They don't know what, like, if you ask, they don't know what we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
This is where we at now. They don't know what, and the point is to constant. That this is why even the way that the fight against our enemy that goes around the world. The point is to continuously show the world that they've been carrying the dark race for years, for thousands, for centuries. We've had to feed them. We had to show them how to shelter themselves. We had to show, and look at what they do now. Now we still gotta feed them. We still gotta shelter them, and all they do is shoot up shit and rob everything.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
We,
And then the
like,
main thing is they can't govern themselves.
They're
right.
savage, uncontrollable. Right. Listen, you guys, man, this has been so great. I'm gonna start winding down, but I want to give everyone a couple minutes to have closing remarks. I appreciate. Let me say, man, shouts out to the dark side, man. I appreciate y'all following through, showing up, and showing out like usual. But yeah, man, let me give everybody an opportunity to do some closing remarks. We're gonna start with Lex for definitely being the honored guest, starting this shit off, man, and keeping it crunk.
Yeah, man. Shout out to the people, man. Power to the dark side of Guvu Kwagiza. Y'all know what it is, man. Learn your Swahili, the new national language of Black Americans and Africans worldwide, to communicate with each other. Get back to your indigenous culture and, ways and mores. And if you are gonna deal with the Wazungu religions, at least make it hoodoo. At least. Can we at least get you there? Can we at least get you can we at
Look,
least
this
get
is
you on the
the first
hoodoo?
step, right? The first step. Can we get you to take baby steps? Goddamn. Right.
Yeah,
Okay. I
on the
feel you. I
hoodoo, man, because
feel
we understand that the addiction is heavy, you know what I'm saying? And
you. Right.
yes, science is, man, we need science, you know what I'm saying? And I believe that, and once we really get the youth, that's why STEMIA was created, because we're talking culture. For instance, it's technology is right now for Black people is something that you get into, but rap is something we do every day. It's a part of our culture, and that's what deities represent. That's why. But I realized, but Ogun is also the god of technology. We already had a technology, and we had she
Mm-hmm.
shot and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. But that's what Stimia was about. Like, I don't think people really understand like the importance of culture and what Dr. Marimba was explaining, the asili, the seed of culture, and how it that the seed you plant is gonna manifest. So it's not like, like the way we talk, it's not something we think about. Like, I'm gonna start talking slang, playing basketball, rapping, eating collard greens. I'm just using this example. It's just the seed of what was planted. It's just what we do. Technology, the reason why we need a deity of technology, if kids grew up recognizing STEMIA, it would just be a part of what they do. They just like they play video games. You see what I'm saying? Like, nigga, programming, that ain't like, that's just what we do. See what I'm saying? That's culture when it becomes innate. So understand that part. And we've always created deities. People say deities created us, but we create deities also. You know what I'm saying? So that's important. So when it
Yeah.
comes to
Yeah.
science, we should definitely be, what I'm saying, all into, we are the fathers and mothers of science. So all that, we wasn't illogical, and that's crazy to me, bro. And I think it's a bad air of self-esteem to tell us that basically your culture failed because you wasn't scientific. No, our culture didn't fail. It was attacked.
Mm-hmm.
It was attacked. And it was
Mm-hmm.
attacked just like, did you fail if you have cancer? The
Right.
body was good. You got to get rid of the cancer. You know what I'm saying? So, You know what I'm saying? Power to the dark side. Shout out to the great spirit and honor to the ancestors. Acknowledge your ancestors. And all we saying is our culture has to be the center of the way we live life and what we do. And next time we got to have that capitalism conversation because Unc and them have no. They want to talk about atheists arguing against religion, and I think that's the biggest front of those brothers over there. But when it comes to the system, there ain't no problem. They want to get rid of, Christianity, Judaism, Islam, and sound like they African revolutionaries only when it comes to religion. But the manifestation of that religion and culture, which is capitalism, which is a, aggressive nature of taking advantage of people, when it comes to standing up against that, they go silent. And that's the problem the dark side has with them. Don't just attack Christianity and not its sister, capitalism.
Well, look for the next show. Y'all heard it. Look for the next show. Y'all heard it here from Lex. Religion, culture, and capitalism.
Peace and power to the dark side.
With Lex, Vortex, and the dark side. Definitely, man. I'm gonna have to throw a show up on that. That's a heavy. That in itself is a great ass title, and I'm sure that'll be a awesome ass discussion.
Yeah, because all those things are just manifestations of the capitalistic system. They're, everything they do is just a compartment of European imperialism and capitalism. Their Christianity, their religions, their institutions, their colleges, their medical, whatever they do is a weapon. That's what we got. That's all. We just want to wake people up to realize that. And how do you protect yourself? From enriching and sticking to yourself in your own culture and not falling into the Wazungu mind state. Peace, man. Appreciate you having me on, Yanga, man.
Man, I appreciate you following through. That's real shit. Peace, definitely, man. Shouts out to the dark side. Power to the dark side. Inyame, Blackologist. It's always a pleasure to have you, brother. I've always enjoyed our exchanges, man. Appreciate you following through. Some closing words or remarks?
Yeah. Peace. Enjoy the Yanga. Thanks for having me on. Power to the dark side. I want to give a shout out to Team Arena, the brothers over there, Black Sun, Trevor, MD, and sister GTO. Still got love for y'all. Let things cool down. Y'all get y'all thing going. I know whenever you talk ideologies and strategies, things get hot and heavy. So shout out to Team Arena.
I guess Tommy doesn't agree with the love doctrine, Blue, but we'll leave that alone for now. Yeah.
I embody it. I just don't preach it. Shots fired. Shots fired.
Oh, look at that.
Shouts out, definitely, man. I seen MD in the chat, man. Shouts out to MD and shit. I appreciate him following through. You guys know you always welcome to hit the platform. Shouts out to the arena doing their thing, sending shouts out. You guys always know that, like I said, man, y'all welcome to hit the platform, jump up here and participate anytime. So there's never a problem with that.
Make sure y'all subscribe, man, too, man. Let's build Yankees.
Yeah, man.
Up.
I appreciate
you. I gotta lock in something. I gotta lock in something with MD. We're gonna have to get in. You're gonna have to come through, bro. We gotta chop it up on that consumer capitalism.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, I gotta get it up with MD, definitely.
Yeah, now that I'm a little bit, free and not really on that team, I got a few things I got to go at too. I got to go at the Constitution, a few things that I let slide because of, team affiliation and allegiance and shit.
I was gonna say. Let me get out because before Yang start doing this Yang and Lex do his Lexi Lex, I ain't gonna be able to get nothing.
Not another one. Listen, I'm trying to keep my shows, relatively within the 2 hours because I want people to go back and listen. And they tell me, man, your shows be too long. Okay. So that's why I'm wrapping it up and saving some of these topics so we can come back. With DMT, man, I definitely don't want to.
I want to get this one out. The biggest one I want was that the ideology of white supremacy is the highest ideology in America, above the Constitution. I don't think people believe that.
Yeah, I
Mm.
believe that. I believe that. I
That's
believe that.
fact.
Yeah.
That's going to be a good discussion. Like you said, if they don't, want it on the arena, man, bring it over here. We can have the discussion. It's going to be open and for all things like that, man. Look for them to come. I'm just excited about the opportunities, doing my thing, just really being able to spread my wings a little bit, challenge myself, and to have interesting people on here and just hear different concepts and really push that shit, man. DMT, I can't leave my boy out, man.
Hey,
Can't
let me
leave the
just give
double
one
master teacher.
shout out real quick
Yes,
before the
sir.
DMV goes. I want to give a shout out to Shalimar. I want to say, brother, I'm glad you rock your natural hair because, we got to love our naps. But that don't mean you shouldn't put no moisturizer in it at all, bro.
That nigga
Man, there
ain't
you go.
shit.
Shots fired. There he is.
He said he got the Kevin Durant.
Use some
The,
get some
the,
palm tree oil or something from the motherland or
the
something.
nigga Kevin Durant used to have the driest
Nothing but
haircut in the league.
Yeah.
that nigga's taking, a blackness to a new nigga. We ain't doing the buckwheat style, my nigga. You know what I mean? Like, get some berries and some cherries in that joint, man. That's
Oh
all.
man. I heard that.
But yeah, I'll say this though,
DMT,
man.
man. Yeah, man.
It's a fight, man. We definitely understand it's a fight against ideology, and the reason why is because, like it was said earlier, they change how you view the world, and when you and with changing that, they able to change or they control what you value. You know what I'm saying? And so
Mhm.
that's the difference. Our value system has changed, and you can see it. It doesn't work for us. You know, it doesn't work for us the way that we see family, the way that we see community, even the way that we see how you govern. It's not a science or a system that's conducive for us to us. So we got to do something, you know, that's that's more efficient for Black people in general. With not because that's what a government is not only just built on it, but it's built based on the environment and the conditions of the people, and that's how it's formulated. And so, like that's the same way ours is. But we got to change the way we view the world, man. With
Mhm.
that, man, I appreciate it, God. Power to the dark side, fam.
Man, I appreciate the guy falling through. I appreciate you guys falling through again, man. Power to the dark side, man. I appreciated the love, the chat. I appreciate you guys falling through, showing the love, showing the support. I'm gonna sit down. I'm gonna end up figuring this thing out, doing the wrench thing, man. Just keep support. Like they said, man, like, subscribe, do this. Let's start building these channels. Let's start building our shit up that we really pushing this Black empowerment, Black advancement. Let's have these real ass discussions. Again, man, I can't thank Lex enough for doing, because I called his. If you didn't check his shit out, which I'm sure most of y'all did, go check out his show earlier. I appreciate him bringing that fire and bringing that heat over here, allowing me to start to build my channel off just that brilliance, man. And I look forward to having him and more Dark Side over and the rest of the chat jumping on the panels. With that, man, I'm going to end the show. Say peace. Catch y'all again. Look for the notification. Listen, not just like me. Hit the little bell and shit. Look for the notifications. Let's keep this shit pumping. All right, man. All powers to the people, power to the dark side, Black power, up revolution, up you mighty nation. You can accomplish what you achieve. All just the good Black shit we say to keep us moving, man. Peace.